Alright, so this is my Hegemon EDH deck. Starting off here with my commander, we got the Hegemon, 6 mana, 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, pretty good. Sets up the rest of the deck because it essentially is a artifact creature heavy deck. It runs the Esper Color Pie shard or whatever you want to call it. So moving on, got 3 plains, 4 islands, and 3 swamps for the basics. And then non-basic lands, got Ancient Den, Citizenhood, Vault of Whispers rounding out the artifact lands. Moving on, Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, Barren Moor, Command Tower, Hallowed Fountain as a shock land, Azorius Chancery, Caves of Kelos, Orzhov Guildgate, Godless Shrine, another one of the shocks, Orzhov Basilica, Terrain Generator. Probably not in most EDH decks, but it does allow you to ramp your basic lands that might be in your hand if you have the mana. Reliquary Tower, in case you just really feel like drawing a ton of cards. Lonely Sandbar, one of the cycling lands. Transguild Promenade, Flagstones of Traquair, Dimir Guildgate, Arcane Sanctum, Secluded Steppe, Drowned Catacomb, Watery Grave, finishing out the shock lands for the deck, Esper Panorama, Azorius Guildgate, Glacial Fortress, Dimir Aqueduct. So that is it for lands in the deck. Moving on to the creatures in no particular order, starting out with Memnite, 1/1 for 0. Aethersworn Shield Mage helps us as Flash, and it helps us protect all of our artifact creatures when it comes into play. Phyrexian Metamorph, really good, one of my favorite cards in the whole deck. Liedemir, just tap for black. Ethereum Sculptor, probably one of the best cards that's in the deck actually. Essentially you can play your artifacts for 1 less than you normally would, which just helps you get there, usually a turn earlier. Oops. Sphinx Sovereign, 6/6 for 8, flyer. At the end of the turn, if it's untapped, you gain 3 life. Otherwise, each opponent loses 3 life. It's not a whole lot, especially in Commander, but it adds up over time. Yeah, Aethersworn Judgicator, another one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's a 4/4 for 5, flyer, but his 2 abilities are pretty good. His first one essentially being Mortify, which we also run in the deck. I'll get to that later. But you essentially have a Mortify that you can keep reusing, and then his second ability allows you to untap him for 2 in a blue. So if you have a crap ton of mana, you can essentially do this a couple times each turn. Tidehall Sculler, 2/2 for 2. When it enters the battlefield, you can essentially Oblivion Ring a card out of your opponent's hand. Sphinx of the Steelwind, another one of the all-stars in the deck. It's a 6/6 for 8. Flying, first strike, vigilance, lifelink, protection from red and from green. Really does some work. Palladiumir, just tap for 2. Sage of Epityr, when it comes into play, you can essentially index for 4 cards. Mephitic Ooze, it gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control, which is really good in this deck. And then it also has Death Touch. Goldmere, Steel Overseer in case we just feel like ramping up our artifacts each turn. Master of Ethereum, also one of the just guys in the deck that can just get huge. Other artifact creatures you control get +1, +0, or sorry, +1/+1, and then his power and toughness is equal to the number of artifacts you control. Silvermere, Architects of Will. You can either cycle it or you can play it when it comes into hand. When it comes into play, look at the top 3 cards of target player's library and then put them back in any order. Duplicant, kind of a staple in a lot of EDH decks. So this one in particular, good removal. Chronomaton, you can get them up pretty high if it's a long game. Tower Gargoyle, 4/4 for 4 flyer. So that is it for the creatures. Moving on to sorceries. Serum Visions, just simple draw cards, scry 2. Wretch Mind, target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand unless he or she discards an artifact card. Pretty good. Foresee, more fixing, or sorry, card advantage. Pulse of the Dross, turns out to be a pretty fun card. Target player reveals 3 cards from his or her hand and you choose one of them. That player discards that card. Then if that player has more cards in their hand than you can return Pulse of the Dross to your hand. So kind of just keeps coming back. Supreme Verdict, just because you need a Wrath. Ancestral Vision, Preordain, Mind Rot, Train of Thought, in case you just really want to draw a crap ton of cards. Index, Duress, Diabolic Tutor, so in case you need a tutor or something. And now moving on to the instants, we got Path of Exile, really good removal. Mortify, as I mentioned earlier. Dash Hopes, black counterspell, pay 2 black, and then when it comes into play, any player may pay 5 life, and if they do, they can counter this. Otherwise, counter target spell. Resounding Wave, really high cycling cost, but if you're able to pull it off, you can, of course, cycle it, and then you get the effect twice, which is return target permanent to its owner's hand. Condescend, just another counter. Think Twice, more card draw. Thought Scour, just more card advantage. Murder, Unsummon, Terror, Azuria's Charm, probably also one of the best cards in the deck, probably one of the best non-creature cards. Just gives you so many options, and at the end of the day, it just really comes in handy. Mana Leak, counter target spell, this control pays 3. Fact or Fiction, really good. Boomerang, Early Frost, Cancel, Esper Charm, just gives you a ton of options, really good. Doomblade, Arrest, essentially Mortify, a little bit more expensive, but also a little bit better. Oblivion Ring, Pacifism. Or I'm sorry, did I say Oblivion Ring for that? I meant Pacifism. Eyes of the Watcher. Whenever you play an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 1, and if you do, you can scry 2. Now onto the artifacts. Most of these are just for fixing purposes, so like Obelisk of Esper, Gilded Lotus, Prophetic Prism, each of the signets, so Azuria's Signet, Orzhov's Signet, and Demir's Signet. Tormod's Crypt, you can Just remove your target player's graveyard. And finally, last but not least, is Crucible of the Worlds. Comes in really handy with the cycling lands or cards like Terramorphic Expanse or Evolving Wilds. If you can get this in your opening hand, you're in good luck, because it can help you ramp up pretty quick. So yeah, that is it for my Hegemon EDH deck. Let me know what you think. Thanks.